Go.
Hey, this is Robert from Speed Zone again, and today's lesson is how to change wheel studs in your GTR. I looked online and tried to find a video and couldn't, and some of the written explanations on how to do it are oversimplified. They don't tell you some of the stuff that's a little harder than what they make it seem. You know, they just say, oh, unscrew this, unscrew that, you know, but some of it is a real hassle. So let me show you what I'm using to replace the factory studs. Part number 1007716. These are wheel studs for a Subaru WRX. They're from ARP. They fit. It's a tight fit. To get them back in, you know, I tried to do it with my heavy-duty vise, and you know, I got a couple of them in, but pretty much wrecked my vise. So unless you have a proper press, take it to your automotive shop and have them do it, because they're hard to get in. So, and then the long nuts that I got are from Titech. They're a through nut, and they're 125 by 1.25, and they will work. So come on over, and I'll show you what needs to be done in order to do it. All right, so this is the front. And what, of course, you know, it's pretty simple. You take the caliper off. What you have to remember is this speed sensor. This speed sensor has to come out before, and it goes right in here, has to come out before you pull the hub. Because if you don't pull this out first, you will wreck it, and you'll break it. And I guess they're fairly expensive to replace, so you don't want to do that. So, and then you need to orient the hub. I put a little scratch mark on the hub, so when I put it back in, it'll be in the same spot. And here's let me show you what I did. What's the rear? Let me get a front. That little sensor fits right inside that space there. So, you know, I put a little mark on the top so I know when I put the hub back on, it'll be in the right orientation. The little sensor will go into that slot. So you can see what happens if you don't remove that sensor and you try to pull this hub out, it's still in that slot and you're going to break it. So remember to remove that sensor before, and then put a little orientation mark on your hub so when you put it back in, you know exactly where that slot's going to be. So that's step number one. The hub bolts on here are not too hard to get to on the fronts. You can just use a regular wrench, a little extension. I believe they're 17-inch heads, so they come off fairly easy. This is the main thing on the front. Remember to pull this before you pull the hub. All right, now we're gonna, and you can hang, once you pull the caliper off, you can rehang it on there with the bolts temporarily. So you don't have to use a wire, you know, to hang it up, because it is fairly heavy. All right, let's come on to the back here. Now the back is a little different deal. There's no sensor, so you don't have to worry about that. Again, you can hang the caliper back on there once you pull your disc off. On this, and I haven't pulled this one off yet, but the hub bolts are really hard to get to. I mean, really hard. And if you can come over here and show what I've done. With an extension, I used a 6-inch extension, 17 millimeter socket, of course. Probably a 4-inch extension would be optimum, but 6-inch works. You need to come in from behind with your impact wrench, okay, because there is no way you can get anything in here from the side. It's like pretty much impossible. Maybe Nissan has a special wrench that they use, but actually this worked pretty good because you can get access. And I mean, it's a little bit crooked now, you can see, but when I'm actually taking them off, you can get a straight shot. But in the back, here's the key. This axle has to be pushed in, because when you first get access to this is going to be out a little bit when you take the nut off. And if you try to get in there, what happens is the CV joint is in so far, and of course it expands out. You can't get a clear shot at that bolt. So if you don't push this axle in, you're going to say, oh, I got to be at an angle, and you're going to end up rounding off the head on that bolt. So push the axle all the way in, then you can get a straight shot with your impact wrench, and they come off fairly easily. All the axle nuts with the impact wrench came off without a problem. I guess they're torqued on, they're pretty heavy, but with the impact wrench, they came off. I didn't have to have somebody get in there and hold the brakes with the disc on while I did it. I just used my impact wrench, it came right off. So in the back, that's the key, is impact wrench, straight shot from the back, make sure that axle is pushed all the way in. All right, so then you get the items off. What I found, I was using my vise, and I had made this special little short socket, and it would, fit in the back here. And then I'd, push them out with the vise. And then I found out, you really don't have to do that with these. Just support the item here. Put a nut on the end. They come out pretty easy. They're not in there that tough. You don't really have to, you just kind of tap, 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 and they work their way out. Take this off, voila, it's off. Putting them back in, that's another story. Like I said, I tried to, do a deal here with the vise where I had a socket over the one end, and then used another bolt, to be on the back of this, and scrunched it between the vise, and pretty much all I did was wreck my vise. It still works, but it doesn't work like it used to. I guess maybe if you had some huge industrial vise, you could do it. I was using this bar on the handle for extra leverage, and it worked, but it didn't work very well. And then I bought this fine, press at Harbor Freight that was on sale. I figured, oh yeah, that's what I need, is a press, and I'll do it. The problem with the little press is, yeah, you can get one stud in fine, and then what you realize is once you have a stud in and you try to turn it to put the next stud in, there's not enough clearance with the stud in to get to the next one. So this isn't going to work. So I think probably the easiest scenario is just go to a machine shop that has a press, have them press the studs in for you. It's a done deal. I'm sure it will cost less than what I paid for that little press that I bought at Harbor Freight. But that's it. Like I said, the key to remember is that sensor in the front. Make sure to pull that before you pull the hub. And in the back, use an impact wrench with an extension. Get a straight shot and make sure that the axle is pushed in before you attempt it, so you can get a straight shot at that bolt. Other than that, once you change out the studs with those parts that I recommended, you just reassemble in reverse order, and you're good to go. What got me started on this project is I got these wheels made by HRE, and I tracked the car, and last time I tracked it and I'm taking the wheel off, I changed the pads, I'm noticing that in the back there weren't a lot of threads on the factory lug nuts. I mean, there was obviously enough to keep the wheel on, and I did race the car hard, and the wheel didn't come off. But when I looked at it, I'm thinking, there's not a lot of thread there to grip, and better be safe than sorry. So I went with these extended studs, which are bigger than, obviously longer than the factory ones. You can see probably something like that. You can see the difference. And that's why you get those special lug nuts that are straight through, so you can bolt it all the way on. But this is going to give you the added security you need for a track day without worrying about the studs breaking, or because these are aircraft quality studs, without them breaking or without the wheel, you know, ripping off the stud. So that's it for this time. I think I covered everything. All the important stuff. It's a job that you can do in your shop, but it's, you know, it can be done. It's not impossible. As long as you have the right tools, you can do it yourself. So that's it from Speed Zone. We'll see you next time.